we laud the great Coach K. Now, this is amazing. His first year at Duke was 1980, 1981. The top 5 grossing movies from 80, 81. Empire Strikes Back, number 1.
Is that right?
Yeah, man.
I always feel like that was later. I don't know.
No,
I'm trying to figure out how I watched. I mean, I must have watched it because I was 5, so I couldn't have watched it in real time.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, Jedi was 83.
Yeah,
and this was 80. 9 to 5. Remember the comedy?
Yeah,
but certainly Dolly Parton. And Lily Tomlin, I think, was in that. Stir Crazy with Richard Pryor. That was good.
Definitely remember that movie.
Kramer versus Kramer. And Any Which Way You Can. Those are the top 5, right? A little different perspective.
Didn't they have a sequel, Any Which Way But Loose?
Yeah. Look at you.
Of course.
An actual cinematic contribution.
Hey, I used to love those movies, man. I saw Smokey and the Bandit the other day.
Did you?
It was on, Burt Reynolds.
I'm proud of you.
And Tracy was like, I feel like every time we end up catching this movie, it's at the same point.
That does happen often with certain movies.
It's where Sally Field she's getting ready to get married. She's left. She's in the car. It's by the side of the road. And Burt Reynolds, spins in the middle of the road, picks her up, and his semi is trailing him. She's throwing all the wedding veil and everything out of the back.
Burt was the man.
Ah, he was the man.
Burt was running the show. So those are some movies, and to make it a little bit more, intimate and unique to our city, FAN was 7 years away from being born.
Wow.
From being born. The first year Coach K, after 5 or 6 years in Army, whatever it was. So we all know Coach K is incredible. Oh, and the price of gas was 90 cents a gallon.
Get out.
Yeah, 90 cents a gallon. Now, we were young. That was obviously the end of the Carter administration. We had major, major issues in the late 70s. You could still see the videos on the documentaries where lines around the corner, like I want to say maybe it was 79 or whatever year, but late 70s for sure, where it was a mess. So I don't know how, and then I don't know exactly what it was before that, but that was what it was in 1980, 90 cents a gallon. Anyway, and here we are. So his final game at Cameron this weekend, and we all know the Leitners, the Hills, the Hurleys, the Zions, the Reddicks, the Danny Ferries, the Johnny Dawkins, probably his first great player, Elton Brand, Battier, Mark Allery, there's an old name.
Yep.
But locally, and this I'm just going to say, this kind of sucks. Like, this does suck. As great as it is to live here and have all these teams that we have, right, and have all these options, all these stadiums, right, the great history, one thing that I don't know we will ever have, ever, in New York or New Jersey, now we had it in Connecticut with Calhoun, but that's over, is, and maybe Danny Hurley does it, who knows, but he's a great coach.
Yeah.
I just don't see any sort of path, either at St. John's, Seton Hall, or Rutgers, and Rutgers is in good shape, and so is Seton Hall right now with Coach Willard, to have that kind of a figure like a Coach K light. Like we had that, and I don't mean to Coach K light. Louis Kartasek is one of the reasons I fell in love with the game, and God bless him, he's 97. I love Louis. But I just don't think we'll ever have that for a lot of reasons. But chime in.
Yeah, well,
I've got my reasons after.
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons why. It's one, especially now, starting now. I mean, if we're talking about starting in the 80s when what you were just alluding to, BT, maybe there would still be an opportunity to get those top-end recruits. But now, with the way that college basketball is increasingly, let me go to college for a year. If I am the elite of the elite, high school, AAU stars, whatever, I need to go to college. At least currently you do. That may change actually in the next couple of years. But I need to go to college. I'm going to go someplace where I can go for a year, potentially compete for a national championship, going to be amongst other great players, and I'm bouncing and I'm out. And, our local teams don't present that way, right? They're not the factories. And so the best players aren't going to continually come, to these schools. Whereas Duke, even back in the day before they were one and done teams, like the best players wanted to go to Duke.
Yes.
And they wanted to stay at Duke, and they wanted to develop at Duke, and they knew that they were going to be competing for ACC championships and the conference title and then the NCAA tournament. They were going to be there. I think the challenge of today's young basketball player makes it really hard for the Seton Halls of college basketball and Rutgers in particular, who are new to this level of excellence, to maintain it. And then there's other issues that happen with the coaches, right? When the coaches just realize this maybe it's a stepping stone and not a career job.
Yep.
That's when it gets really hard.
I agree. And, so you look at St. John's. So Louis steps away in 1992. Mahoney wins Coach of the Year after that. And then you got Felipe. And, it wasn't as great as it should have been. But, you made the tournament. Then Fraschilla comes in. Then you have the Jarvis run. Then you have Norm. Then you have Lavin, Mully. And here we are with Mike Anderson. And we'll see what happens the rest of the way with this season. But, even if Mike goes on a run and, they make a few NCAA. Mike's 62. So he's not, and he's already been in multiple. Like, this is the last stop, I would think, for Mike Anderson, and hopefully he's here for a while. But there's no path there, right? And by the way, all those coaches I mentioned, Louis made 18 NCAA tournaments. All the coaches combined made 7. So that's St. John's, right? Then you look at Seton Hall, and obviously Carlissimo was really, really good. He was there from the early 80s to the mid-90s, and Blaney, and that was a mess. And Amaker was good, and Louis Orr had some intermittent success for sure. Bobby Gonzalez, I actually really thought Bobby was a good coach, but it went sideways for a couple of reasons, And then now Kevin Willard. Now, Willard's interesting because he's only 46, so he's still pretty young.
And he's been there for a while.
10 years now.
10 years, 2010, 11.
Yep, 2010's first year. He's 46, came from Iona, a Patino protege. Maybe he stays there forever. That a little more of a path there. Rutgers. Now, Rutgers is different in the sense that they've got a football budget, unlike St. John's and Seton Hall don't even have football teams. But it was Wenzel and Bannon and Gary Waters and Freddie Hill. I like Freddie Hill, but, Freddie Hill, Mike Rice, Eddie Jordan, who played there, of course, and now Steve Pikel is doing a great job. Now, Steve is about 10 years older than Willard, and he's been there 6 years, and they're going in the right direction. And Reckel does a good job calling the games, and they're doing well. But the problem with the St. John's, Seton Hall, Rutgers comparison to, remotely replicating the Coach K individual success, number one, if you have a coach that starts out and lays a foundation where you can say, man, this could be the next Louis Carnesecca.
Yeah.
I think that person will be poached by a bigger school with more money.
Yep.
Number one. Number two.
Like Lavin.
Well, Lavin was. I mean, Lavin was different, and I love Steve. Lavin was different.
Yeah. But he did get poached by UCLA.
No, you're talking about UCLA before Lavin.
Before him. Yeah.
So UCLA, that's where he had some success. He was at UCLA. Then he was in TV, and then St. John's got him.
He didn't. He just left St. John's and did nothing.
He's on TV.
I know, but no more coaching.
I think he's done. I think he's cool on TV, and
really?
I think that's probably. Yeah. His name was
he left and went somewhere, but I'm wrong. I think you're right.
I got you. His name was in a few spots, but I think he's probably comfortable with TV.
Yeah.
At least that's what he's told me. He likes it. The point being, if you do well, somebody else is going to come in and cut a big check that probably these schools can't match. Probably, or if you're doing really well, but based on the market and how fans kind of turn on you, there's a quicker way to get fired.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
You leave on your own.
But
we'll never see this.
Yeah, but where's the expectation? I think that's what it comes down to, and that's why the longevity for some of these coaches like Willard is impressive.
Yes,
is because
he's done a good job.
He's done a really good job.
Yeah, he has.
I mean, how many times has he been to the tournament? Four times. Got out of the first round only once. Second round in 2017-18. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, but no real NBA players. That's done
right.
with good coaching, good recruiting.
And I think maybe that's the hard part of it. Is it when you don't have that marquee player? I'm saying there's not been good players, but there've been good players at Seton Hall. But when there's not that marquee player to point to and to champion and say, look what we did with this kid, look where he is now, it gets harder to get the next kid, right? So it's I don't know. It's not like he's doing anything wrong. He's doing everything absolutely right.
And there's limits at Seton Hall.
And there's limits at Seton Hall.
There are.
But there's not that example of the star who you can point to.
You're right. At least Marquette had Dwayne Wade. Jimmy Butler. Like you can look. I look at St. John's, and that's more of my
wheelhouse,
part of my profile, whatever work profile. I mean, Shamari Pons was supposed to be that kid. He didn't become that player. Julian Champagny, I love him. He's had a little bit of a regression this year.
I heard you talking about maybe he should stay in school.
I mean, that's probably a pipe dream.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure he can make a lot of money in Europe. And listen, if he finishes with a bang, he's going to get drafted in round 2. Maybe somebody takes a flyer in round 1. Maybe, but think about this: the European options are dwindling based on what's happening in the Ukraine.
That's right.
I mean, so there's not this abundance of European jobs that pay well.
Yeah.
Point being, St. John, Mike, how many times can you say, look, Mo Harkless, all right, he played 1 year at St. John's. Does Eddie St. John, and, he's a below-average NBA player. Now, he's made $55 million, but are you going to say to a 5-star recruit, look at Mo Harkless? No, nobody cares. You care about Mullen. It's 50 years ago almost, 40 years ago. Mark Jackson, 35 years ago. So I don't know. Even like somebody like Terry DeHare, it's a long time ago for Seton Hall. This is not about achieving success. That's not the point of this conversation. The point is, can one of the three, including Rutgers, who's on a nice path with Peichel, who was a good coach, can they ever, the three coaches that are coaching now, or somebody after them down the road, ever put together something that feels similar to what's going down and what has gone down at Duke? My guess is no. I just think there's too many limitations.
Yeah, it's too hard to do it year over year. And here than unlike some of these ACC schools.
Correct. 877-337-6666. Also, put this in your back pocket. Tiki and Tierney's March Madness Bracket Challenge is coming. And it's simple. Whoever's got the best bracket wins. And that means you get to come in studio right in here and co-host with us for an hour. That'll be awesome.
It will be.
So that's coming as well. So just look out for that soon. 877-337-6666. Ryan, Breezy Point on the Fan. What's up, Ryan?
It's my topic. A couple points. Your inquiry as to whether the locals could ever have a basketball administration in the likeness of Coach K, although mirroring that success would be borderline impossible.
Yeah.
Those days are over nationwide. Look at the next generation of would-be Coach K's and where they ended up. Stevens went to the league. Buzz Williams has bounced around. The guy Chris Beard hopscotched a few times.
What about Mark Few?
Yeah, Few's the one.
Mark
he's the
probably
one.
your only guy left, but
Yeah.
he's when did he get that job? 2000?
20 years ago?
Yeah, 2000.
23?
And maybe you could say Calipari, but even Calipari's from.
What about Tom Izzo?
Tom Izzo's more from that era. If you got that job prior to 2005, these college administrations have become so much less patient with their coaching staffs. But I wanted to address.
That's a good point.
That is true, Ryan. You're not wrong.
I wanted to address on the local front.
Good.
If you're St. John's, you would be thrilled if you had a situation that has been established at Seton Hall over the last 10 years under Kevin.
Yep.
Because it gives you stability. You're in the tournament 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5 years. And on the right night, guys, you're poking Duke. On the right night, if you get one of these ACC schools to come visit you in the non-conference and you pack the Prudential Center, you're beating those guys.
Yep.
I think, so that should be the model and the goal for St. John's. And Mike, look, in the last 3 years, Mike's brought a lot of stability to the program.
No question.
But the glaring holes in his ability as a coach, which I didn't see at his prior stops because I followed him a lot when he was at Missouri.
Missouri, yeah.
I think the Mary Carroll's his nephew, who was great for him there.
Is that right?
But late game coaching has been awful. Out of timeouts, I think, the loss of Steve DeMayo
hold on, Ryan. I don't want to listen to Ryan. And by the way, some of the things, it's not been a good year at St. John's. They were supposed to be better than this, and I appreciate the call. I don't want to get into when the season's over. We can happily do this, whether it's Willard, Rutgers, or St. John's. I don't want to get into the minutia of timeouts, and that's not the point. I will say this though, at least pertaining to St. John's, because Seton Hall has for a long time done a better job of not just winning, but this is a byproduct of winning, of really elevating the basketball program. Now, St. John's has work to do there. They've got to narrow the gap. And unlike Rutgers, who has a football budget and is also on the right path like Seton Hall's been, while Mike Anderson has not been perfect this year, I'm certainly not going to say that he has been, but, I mean, come on, between Roberts and Lavin was okay, but not great. Mullins, we all wish Mully's run was better. At some point, you got to say, is it the coach you're bringing in?
Yeah.
Or is it the school? And to me,
What do you mean by the school?
meaning there has been a lack of emphasis, or the emphasis has not been properly directed toward the program. See, I was talking about this with somebody the other night doing the game in Queens.
Yeah.
And I've heard a million times, and it's crazy, because I think it's a real antiquated way of looking at things. Man, St. John's has to get back to the 80s. No, they don't. They don't need to get back to the 80s. They need to get to the 2020s, because the likelihood of, a white kid from Flatbush going there to save them, who somehow spurned Duke, not save them, they were actually really good before that, because they almost made the Final Four in '79. They lost to Penn. I mean, St. John's history before that is phenomenal. But where's the next Mullen? Probably not out there. All right. Where's the next Walter Berry? Probably not out there. Where's the next Mark Jackson? Probably not out there. Where's the next Ortest from LaSalle? Probably not out there. What they are finally doing, is they have a trio. They've got a priest who came from Providence, who actually cares about basketball, loves it. They have not had that in the 20 years I've been working there. That's different. They've got an AD who came from Duke, who knows what the heck he's doing, who is smart, who can raise money. Mike Craig, I like. And while I really like Coach Anderson too, though I do think, basketball-wise, Coburn should have played more. There's things I can nitpick, but Mike is an incredibly accomplished coach. They finally have the three-headed monster in alignment. They've never had that. Now you need money.
Yeah.
Now you need buildings. Now you need things.
Yeah.
That's why they're not Seton Hall.
Well,
that's why they're not Providence.
Yeah.
And that's certainly why they're not Villanova.
True, but again, it's a lot of it is continuity with coaching, and because Willard's been there for so long, that you feel like you're stepping into a program where he's going to be my coach, he's going to instruct me, and we're going to have success. Whereas from the Lavin era to the Chris Mullen, which was great for a minute until it wasn't, and Chris obviously went on to do other things. I don't know where it just got distracted.
Chris had a real personal issue with his brother. It's public, and I'm not talking out of school. His older brother, who he's very tight with, who I met many times, passed away. And that really rocked Chris. Understandably.
But it was almost
terrible.
It was almost one of those things where we wanted it to work so bad that you look past some of some of those issues. And
That's
again,
true.
Not his fault. It just is what it is. And now you're with Mike. So it's there's been a lot of turnover.
I know.
And that's not good for college programs.
It's terrible. Not to mention school presidents, athletic directors, SID. Well, the SID has been pretty stable. No, there's no doubt. That's a big part of the problem. I know that it's been stabilized, but I also know St. John's fans are tired of hearing that.
Yeah.
They want results.
Yeah, and eventually you got to have results.
Yeah.